Hello, my rubber hearts. We have been building to this moment for a while now. We talked about rotors, geometry, dead zones, and high shear zones, invisible landscapes inside the chamber. But we have never actually asked the most fundamental question. What is mixing really? Not what the machine does, but what physically happens to the material. And here is the answer that might change how you think about everything. Mixing is not one thing. It is two completely different processes, two different goals, and two different mechanisms. And they happen simultaneously inside the same chamber. If you confuse them, you confuse everything. So let's separate them. Let's start with distributive mixing. Imagine you have a rubber matrix, dark, thick, already formed, and you need to add something to it. A small amount of an oil, a chemical, a curative, an ingredient that needs to be spread evenly throughout the whole compound. Your goal is not to change that ingredient, not to break it down, not to alter its structure. Your goal is location, spatial homogeneity, getting what started concentrated in one place, spread to every corner of the material. This is distributive mixing, and it works through movement. Material flows, it circulates, it gets folded, it gets stretched and reoriented. The ingredient that was concentrated at the injection point gradually moves through the matrix. It encounters fresh rubber, it meets new surfaces, it mixes in. Think of it like a drop of ink falling into water. You are not trying to change the ink molecule. You are not trying to break it. You are simply trying to move it, to distribute it, to refresh the contact between the ink and water until the color is uniform. No force threshold needs to be crossed. No structure needs to be broken. You just need enough movement and enough circulation, enough renewal, enough time for the ingredient to reach everywhere. This is what the rolling bag does so well. As material cycles through the rotor, layers open and fold. Fresh surfaces come into contact. A chemical ingredient gradually saturates the compound. An oil gradually spreads. The driving force for distributive mixing is flow, circulation, repetition. It is measured in how many times the material passes through the chamber, in how thoroughly the rotor reshapes and reorients the compound, in how complete the renewal of surfaces is. And here is the key point. You cannot rush it indefinitely, but you can make it happen without extreme stress. Now we move to dispersive mixing. Imagine a different scenario. You add a filler to the rubber, carbon black, silica, renewable functional filler, something that arrives not as individual particles but as agglomerates, clusters of particles held together by physical bonds and chemical forces. And your job is to break them apart, to take what arrived as a clump and separate it into individual particles that can be distributed evenly. This is dispersive mixing. And here is where everything is different. You cannot achieve this through movement alone. No amount of gentle circulation will break an agglomerate. No amount of time will do it if the stress is too low, because those agglomerate particles are held together. They have cohesive strength, a tensile force binding them. To break that bond, the stress you apply must exceed the cohesive forces holding the cluster together. There is a threshold, a minimum stress level that must be reached. Below that threshold, no matter how many times the material circulates, no matter how long you mix, the agglomerate stays intact. So, dispersive mixing is governed by something completely different from distributive mixing. It is governed by stress magnitude. And here is something critical that changes how you think about the process. Time alone does not disperse fillers. Stress does. A short burst of intense stress, high enough to fracture agglomerate bonds, can accomplish more dispersive work than hours of gentle mixing. This is why the fingerprint of a mixing cycle shows power peaks, why rotor speed matters so much in the first moments after filler addition, why the intensity at the tip gap is so critical. You are creating stress high enough to exceed that threshold, and when you do, agglomerates fracture, particles break free, structure is reduced. When you don't, the agglomerates remain. They survive, they persist into the final compound, and the compound suffers for it. Now here is where it gets interesting. You need both processes at the same time. Your compound needs the filler agglomerates broken down, Dispersive. And it needs the broken particles spread uniformly throughout, so distributive. Break down the agglomerates but leave them concentrated in one region and your compound will fail. One area will be reinforced, another will be weak. Spread the ingredients perfectly but never break down the agglomerates and your compound will also fail. Poor reinforcement, poor properties, all because the filler never reached its potential. So the mixer has to do both. The rotor has to generate enough stress to break agglomerates, and it has to circulate the material enough times through enough regions to distribute everything evenly. So these two are not the same job, and in fact, they can work against each other. High rotor speed generates intense stress, good for dispersive work. But if you run at high speed the entire cycle, the temperature climbs, the compound viscosity drops, material starts slipping instead of being worked, and you risk overcooking ingredients that are sensitive to heat. Gentle mixing spreads ingredients evenly, which is good for distributive work, but if you run gently the entire cycle, the stress never reaches the threshold needed to break down agglomerates. So the process becomes a balancing act. In practice, this is why mixing cycles have phases. At the beginning, when the filler is first added, you need high stress, high rotor speed, intense power input. For this is the dispersive phase. The agglomerates are breaking, structure is being reduced, the power curve shows a peak, the fingerprints sharp rise. Once the peak passes, once the agglomerates have been sufficiently broken, you can reduce the speed, lower the stress, focus on circulation and temperature management. This is the distributive phase. The particles are now small enough to move freely. What you need now is for them to spread throughout the compound, to saturate every region, to achieve homogeneity. Some mixing cycles have a third phase, an even gentler, finer mixing at low speed, just circulation, just surface renewal, making sure no pockets of unmixed material remain anywhere. So the mixing cycle itself is a statement about understanding both processes. You cannot do one without thinking about the other. This is the foundation of part 2. Everything that follows, the physics of shear, the behavior of polymers, the chemistry of fillers, it all traces back to these two concepts, distributive and dispersive, flow and stress, time and force. Understanding the difference is understanding rubber mixing itself. But now a new question opens up. We keep saying stress, we keep saying forces, we keep saying energy. But what are these forces exactly? What are the invisible things acting on the rubber inside that chamber? Next time, shear, pressure, and temperature. The three invisible forces that define everything that happens inside the mixture. How they work, how they interact, and how they are responsible for breaking agglomerates and distributing ingredients. Until then, stay elastic and stay curious.